Have you ever found yourself wondering, are they a narcissist or are they just really, really selfish? It's a question that can keep you up at night. One moment you feel like you're going crazy, and the next you're telling yourself you're overreacting. The confusion is exhausting. It's designed to be. Today we're going to cut through that confusion. This isn't about diagnosing anyone. This is about getting clarity on the energy and the patterns that you are experiencing. My name is Lynetta, and I use tarot to find the truth in patterns. I spent nearly 2 decades in a relationship that forced me to learn the difference between selfishness and strategic manipulation the hard way. In this reading, we're going to ask the cards to show us the energetic difference so you can stop second-guessing your own reality and start trusting what you feel. Let's see what the cards have to say. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Today, on this gorgeous Saturday, I hope it's gorgeous where you are. It is gorgeous where I am. All right. Thank you all for joining me here, and thank you for allowing me to read for you today. I appreciate each and every one of you. Right. All right. Let's get into this reading. Whoops. Okay. So we have the 9 of Swords and the 4 of Cups. Here. Okay. We have the Fool. It's a new beginning. So far, with the 9 of Swords, this is this is being stuck in a nightmare. Okay? Stuck in a nightmare with someone who doesn't care. With the 4 of Cups, this is indifference. Okay? This is someone who is who ignores the cup of love, who ignores kind gestures. You know, you're making kind gestures with this person. This is someone who acts like they do not care, acts like they do not even see the kindness, the empathetic gestures, maybe even the apology, right? When you're in this energy of the 9 of Swords, this is the energy of being trapped in your thoughts, having nightmares, sleepless nights. You can't sleep. And I have to say that this is one of the primary patterns of being in a relationship with someone who is narcissistic, or who is, okay, let me just make it very clear that I am not, this video, the description of narcissist is not a diagnosis. It's not me or the cards. This is not meant to diagnose anyone. This is just a description of someone who operates outside of their heart space and from a very toxic, in a very toxic way, in a way that is harmful, okay, to others, towards others. Okay, this is someone who maybe is not diagnosed as a narcissist, but someone who operates from what we, in general public would would typically refer to as narcissistic behavior. Someone who is disregarding your emotional stability, someone who is probably very immature, emotionally immature and stunted, someone who is not empathetic, who can see you in this state, right? A state of distress, losing sleep, exhausted. Another thing that this card reminds me of is exhaustion. Okay. This is someone who likes to keep you up at night, arguing, okay, constantly. We're keeping you in a state of frustration where you cannot sleep, okay? And even after the arguments are over, now you're in a state of rumination, trying to figure out what you did wrong. You can't sleep, okay? And this is someone who does not care. This is someone who is indifferent, who can see you cry and don't care and does not care, okay? The driving energy, we have the Fool, a new beginning, okay? That's what's needed. That is what's needed. And we'll talk about the Fool more in a minute. Let me get these other two cards out. Okay. Foundation and stability. Okay. And we have the Eight of Pentacles. Change the path, the shift. It's gonna change the path, shift. Ten of Pentacles. Okay, so again, distress with someone who doesn't care. Someone who's indifferent to your pain, your tears, your frustration. This is someone who keeps you in this energy. And this energy is exhausting. And one of the things about being in a relationship like this dynamic here is that when you're exhausted, you can't think straight. You can't function like a normal in any type of productive way, okay? When you're in this type of dynamic here. This is one of the ways, or one of the main ways, especially in the beginning, in the beginning of the relationship, it feels like, and even from my own experience, this is, and I'm just reading the cards, but I am saying I can relate to this, okay? In the beginning, it's like you go from being euphoric, being in love, this person is showering you with love and attention and affection, and you feel like this is the best thing that ever happened to you. And then they do something. When they know that they have you hooked, they do something that shocks you. I mean, it's literally shocking to your core. And it leaves you in this place of disbelief, because you can't believe that this person who just did this thing in the beginning, right? This is the beginning. This is the first offense, right? After they know that they have you in some kind of way, they have you stuck, or have you, you're in love with them, and they know that you are committed, right? Then they do something that shocks you, something that you don't believe that they're even capable of. And it leaves you distraught, absolutely distraught. Absolutely distraught in this connection. And you're wondering, who is this person? I don't even know. And then they act like they don't, and you're like, who is this person, right? What was I supposed to use? Oh, let me use this one. Clarify. Who is this person? I don't know this person. Is this someone who loves me, who cares for me? They act like they don't care. And then you find yourself apologizing, and they act like you did something wrong. That's exactly what this is saying here. You feel like you did something wrong. The problem is you don't know what you did wrong. So now you're confused, right? Okay, so what's hidden is this new beginning. When you came into this connection with this person, you came in as the fool, right? You came in, when you met this individual, you felt free, you felt ready to take a leap into this new beginning, full of promise and wonderful expectations. Look at the sun, and you just look, and you took a leap of faith, okay? You took a leap of faith. That's what's hidden. When you started this connection with this person, you were pure, and you were pure-hearted, and the only thing that you brought into this relationship was your experience, right? Maybe you've had relationships in the past, right, that you have learned something from, and you probably shared all of what you've been through with other people in this connection with this person. And so you come in as the fool, not knowing that this person is going to make you feel like a fool, but you come in open. Your heart is open, and you know that there's, when your heart is open, you know that there's a possibility that you can get hurt, right? But this person is, this is not something that you can see in the beginning. You are coming in because you see the potential in the connection, right? With the Eight of Pentacles, you're willing to do the work. You're willing to do the work and master this connection. And this person promised to do the work with you, right? That you guys are going to build a foundation together. The Eight of Pentacles is in the place of foundation. The Eight of Pentacles is about building, right? something that you guys were supposed to do together. Build this strong and powerful foundation based off of faith and connection, right? The connection that you think you have with this person, the ideal, the possibilities, right? Of a beautiful and loving relationship. Of course, that's why we take a leap of faith, because we have high expectations. And what you expected was a 10 of Pentacles. 10 of Pentacles is a legacy. That's the expectation, a legacy. We're going to build something together. We're going to master us, right? We're going to master our connection. We're going to master our and create a strong foundation for us to, for it to lead into our 10 of Pentacles. That was the expectation here. Okay. It sort of feels like, you know, that's the way you start every relationship, right? But it feels like the thing is, with this reading, sorry, we're going to get into these cards. The thing is, with this reading, I don't see any cups except the 4 of Cups, indifference, right? Someone being defensive. Maybe you said something to this person in the beginning. Maybe you said something to this person and put them in defense. What is it that got you into this 9 of Swords energy? We're going to explore that. Okay? And I am using the Biblical Tarot. That's what I was guided to use. So I'm just being obedient. So we're going to use this Biblical Tarot. And let's find out what got us in this 9 of Swords energy. We have the Shadow. Someone operating out of their shadow, like I said, not operating out of their heart space. Someone operating out of their shadow. So this is where the person shows you their shadow side. And we have the High Priestess here, right? The High Priestess sees what's hidden. So it's this point where you see and you understood. You saw this person's shadow, probably for the first time. That's what got you in this energy. In the beginning of the relationship, you didn't see their shadow. All you saw was love and light. And that's not to say that's not to say that that's your fault. That's not your fault. What I'm saying is the way the narcissist or a toxic person or, the way that the narcissist operates is they connect with you based off of you. The connection is based solely off of you. They know how to read you, and they don't just read you by looking at you. They read you by listening to your words, right? So in the beginning of a relationship, we tend to want to share, right? Share the things that we've been through, our hopes, our dreams, the things that we would want to do differently in a new relationship, the type of connection that we want to have. We share all these things in the beginning when we meet this person. And if you're talking to a normal person, that's not necessarily a bad thing, which I do say, though, I have learned that you should not overshare in the beginning. I just think that's a bad idea. I think that in the beginning of a relationship, you should get to know a person, right? Based off of the present, who you are today. See if you can have fun, see how well you communicate, go out and do things and learn about each other. And then as time goes on, once you develop some trust in this person and make sure that there is a level of compatibility, make sure that this person has a personality, and then you begin to dig deeper, you know what I mean? And maybe share bits of yourself instead of just laying it all out there in the beginning, usually on the first date, telling somebody what you want in a relationship, because then they can just take your words and simply put on that mask and become that. This person showed you their shadow, right? You saw their shadow. You got a glimpse of who they really were. They showed you something. You saw something. With the High Priestess, this is the first time that you saw behind the mask slip. The High Priestess is about seeing things that are hidden, right? She's very intuitive, and she sees what is hidden, and she also is secretive. Okay, she sees things, but she doesn't share everything that she sees. So this is probably the first time that you really noticed something's not right here with this person. Okay, they did something that hurt you, something hurtful. Anything else? Tell us more about this Nine of Swords energy. Ooh. Okay. So we have the Ten of Feathers. This is also the Ten of Swords. Okay. So this is the betrayal. This is where they stabbed you in the back. They betrayed you in some type of way. And not only did they betray you, right, but they made you weak. This betrayal made you weak because now we have the Ten of Swords here, right? The Ten of Swords is you thinking about this betrayal. The Nine of Swords is you're in a nightmare. Okay, you saw their shadow, the mask slip. They did something that hurt you, right? You saw something in this person. And now you can't get it out of your head. You can't unsee it. It's, it makes you emotional, right? You can't unsee it. It's like a nightmare. It's a nightmare. You're wondering, who is this person? Yep, it was a betrayal. Some type of betrayal. We have the Six of Wands here, the fall of Jericho. Normally, the Six of Wands is a card of public celebration, right? But on this card in particular, right, it's about the fall of Jericho, which was a victory. It's about a victory, right? But in this particular card, what draws my attention is the fall. You understand? This is where the narcissist was victorious in breaking you. Okay? This was the first, this is the victory that they had with breaking you. This is what that is. They broke you. They did something. They did something that was so, it literally changed you. It changed you. It confused you. You were stunned. Absolutely stunned. Tell me about the Four of Cups. I'm trying not to make this reading too long, but let's see. The high priest, okay, it came out, it didn't come out all the way sideways. It came, so I'm going to take it upright. The Four of Cups, let me see. Usually I take, okay, I'm going to keep it upright. With the high priest, this is the Hierophant, okay? This is about a contract, right? So this, after they broke you, after they did something to hurt you, you went ahead with the relationship and there was some type of contract. This could have been some type of commitment, some type of, even though this person is indifferent to your tears. So they saw that they got away with this, right? They saw that they could do this to you and you didn't leave. This is the point where this was their victory. Their victory was, this was the test and you didn't leave. Okay. So now we move on to the commitment, the marriage, the commitment, the move in together, the whatever it is, right? You move forward with the relationship. Okay. Yep. Look, the Lovers. You move forward with the relationship. Normally the Lovers, okay, the Lovers is about a choice. It's about a choice. Could be about a coming together of relationship. In this reading, it's about the coming together. You guys made a choice and stayed together. But was this an aligned choice? Okay, there was some type of commitment that brought you guys together. Or caused you to, you thought this choice to stay with this person and commit to this person. I believe that you believed this was an aligned choice. Okay. In your heart, this was a choice of alignment. Whatever you saw back here, you know, the thing about, you're probably very empathic. You have a forgiving soul, right? So you're forgiving. And maybe this person also told you that they had some kind of, yeah, we have the Three of Swords here. You stayed. You thought you were making an aligned choice. But then here starts the betrayal, the Three of Swords. A lot of times this is also, you still feel betrayed. You know, even though you guys stay together, you still feel betrayed. You still remember this betrayal, this heartbreak. That this person, and he's still indifferent about it. This person is still indifferent about the fact that they broke your heart. Didn't make a difference. Didn't make a difference at all. Yeah. And I just added up with this number 4 here with the Four of Cups. I just added up the numbers on these cards in reference to the Four of Cups. Right? We have a 5 here with the High Priest. Lovers is the number 6. 5 plus 6 is 11. Plus 3 is 14. And 1 plus 4 is 5. And 5 is the number of challenges. Nothing but challenges with this person. Challenges. Difficulty. Right? Okay. Anything else about the Four of Cups? Anything else about the Four of Cups? The Nine of Cups. The Nine of Cups is about emotional stability. But this is about independent emotional stability, being emotionally stable on your own, without anybody else, without depending on anybody else. And maybe that's what this heartbreak led you to. You know what I mean? Maybe that's the lesson about, you made this commitment, and within this commitment, you learned that you're going to have to find emotional stability independently, not with this person. You're going to have to find independent happiness in this connection with this person. Your happiness is not going to come from this connection. It's going to have to be you. You. Okay, tell us about the Fool. The Fool and what's hidden. The Tower. Look at that. This beginning where you stepped out on faith and you took a leap of faith towards this person. Look what you have. A tower. It's that leap of faith led to a tower. It's going to come crashing down. The tower is about being the foundation that you guys were supposed to have created together was not a strong foundation. In fact, it was a false foundation. It was no foundation because it was built on lies. It was built on lies. I want to get some information about this tower. Some more information about the tower. Yeah. A false reality. So you find yourself in a false reality. You thought that you were getting this wonderful new beginning with this person, and it turned out what you got was you got someone who you end up in this false reality. Nothing about this connection, nothing about this person is real. Tell me about the Tower. We have the Ace of Cups, divine love, and the Eight of Swords, walking away. Oh, yeah. This was in divine intervention. The Ace of Cups is divine love. This is the love of the divine. Because the divine loves you, look, this tower had to happen. This tower is what needed to happen so that you because you were in this what do you call it? The Eight of Swords. Trapped. You were trapped. The Eight of Swords is Sorry, I had the Eight of Cups in my head, walking away. And this is not walking away. This is trapped, okay? Feeling mentally trapped in a mental prison. That's what the Eight of Swords is. And that's what you were in this tower. But the divine was with you. God is always with you. The divine was with you, okay? The divine love was here. This was divine intervention. It was divine love that caused this tower to happen because you were stuck in a mental prison. And it seemed like you probably, when you're stuck in a mental prison in this type of relationship where you really love this person and you've committed to them, a lot of times when an empath is what I want, someone who's very empathetic and loving, right? And has a lot of cups energy with the Nine of Cups. This is your energy. You're someone who is independently happy. You're someone who is happy on your own. Okay. And that's probably what this person envied about you, right? This independent joy, this natural joy, this confidence, this belief in yourself, right? That doesn't come from them, you know. A lot of times, toxic people envy that because they don't have that for themselves. They can't have that about themselves, right? They don't know how to heal and learn how to be happy within themselves. They just don't have that ability, right? So this person was envious. This is why they hurt you. This is why they betrayed you. It was because of this Nine of Cups energy that you have. They could not have that. They had to destroy that, right? So they have you stuck in a mental prison, and with the Fool, this is what you're thinking you're going to be happy with this person. You thought it was going to be a 10 of Cups, but you end up happy still in your own happy place. You know what I mean? Because you're strong and you're not brought down easily. You may be easily hurt, but you're not brought down easily. You get back up, you know. You still find a way to move around it. That's why you stayed in this connection, because you are emotionally strong. Even in the midst of somebody trying to tear you down. But divine intervention happened because this person kept you in a mental prison. You're in a mental prison, you're exhausted, you can't fight, you know, and that's one of the tactics of being in a relationship with someone who is narcissistic and selfish, defensive. You can't say anything to them. You can't, if you try to, it doesn't matter how you talk to this person, they can't hear you. They can't see you. They can't, can't receive you. They just can't. So we have divine intervention, the Tower here. What else do we need to know about the Fool? We have Temperance. Yes. Look at that. After the Tower. Temperance. This is balance. This is balance and harmony. After betrayal. You're the High Priestess, right? The High Priestess sees behind the veil. The High Priestess is an energy of the subconscious. She understands even what she doesn't understand, her subconscious understands. So subconsciously, right, your higher self knew that this needed to happen. It knew that you were dealing with this person's shadow. Your higher self knew that you're dealing with this person who lives in their shadows. not someone who lives from their heart space like you do. This person, is not good for you. Not good for you at all. So this tower happened so that you could get back to some sense of balance, so that you could alchemize this energy, this situation that you felt so stuck in. That's what the temperance is. It's about regrounding and alchemizing, right? So that you can begin to heal. So this tower is an ending for a new beginning. And here we have the Fool. An ending for a new beginning. That's what's hidden. That's the hidden blessing, right? So that you could end this cycle with this person. So you could end this cycle with achievements, right? When you end a cycle, it's about achievement. It's because you learn your lesson. So you could close out this cycle because you've learned something, you've understood something, right? And when you close out a cycle, guess what you get? You get a new beginning. You get a new beginning. Brand new again. You get to start over and take the lessons that you learned from this dynamic with you into your new beginning so that you don't repeat those lessons. So you don't repeat those things, right? Okay, that's good. That's great. Tell me about the Eight of Pentacles. Okay. With the Eight of Pentacles, right? In the beginning, you wanted to work to build this foundation and master this foundation with this individual. That's what you thought you were getting in the new beginning with this person, right? We're going to work together. We're going to master. We're going to work, I'm willing to work at it and do the work to master whatever I need to master. But here we have the Five of Grains. This is what you ended up feeling like, left out in the cold. You ended up feeling left out in the cold. This person wanted you to beg them. That's what they wanted. They wanted you to beg them. They wanted you to work, but work for them. Work for their happiness, for their satisfaction, which you can never, ever make this person happy. There's no happiness, but for what their ideal of happiness is, which isn't what your ideal of happiness is. Their happiness does not come from the heart space. Their happiness comes from superficiality, superficial things, appearances, money, material things. Okay? So in this relationship, it feels like you knew very well what it felt like to be left out in the cold, to be destitute, to be miserable, and miserable. But we have the Hermit. The Hermit is a guide. You had guidance. right? Of course you had guidance because you had the divine intervention that happened. And then you had temperance and you ended this cycle, even though it felt terrible. You know, when you end a cycle with the narcissist, with someone who has beaten you down emotionally and mentally, you feel, in the beginning, this is exactly what you feel like. You feel lost. You feel destitute. You feel miserable. It's not like you break up with these people and then you're instantly happy. You're instantly in a good place. No, you're not in a good place. Even though you ended a cycle and you learned a lot, you're not in a good place, okay? Because now you have to process all that you have experienced, all that you have been through with this person. You have to process it. And this is where the hermit comes in. When you take time to yourself, you literally have to take time to yourself to process, to reassess, and to get some spiritual guidance. You know, what happens when you go within is you receive guidance, spiritual guidance. You receive wisdom and higher knowledge and understanding of the path that you have been on. You know, you get some light and some understanding about not only what happened to you in this relationship, but understanding that you are not a victim, right? And that's not to say that you were not done wrong. That's to say that this is where you begin to understand that you had to play a part, that you had to participate. You had to allow certain things. You had to participate, right, in this in order to have this experience. So this is where you begin to understand and gain wisdom on a big picture level, right? And then you have the Ace of Candles. This is the Ace of Wands, right? You get a new spark of energy, right? You've gained some wisdom. You've taken time to yourself. Now you get this new spark of energy, right? And you get this inner, what's inside you, you know, in the Bible, the burning bush, this is where God spoke to Moses, right? This is where you get a spark, you get something that lights you up, right? The wands are about fire, and the ace is the initial spark. It's the first spark. Anything that's created needs that first spark in order to that initial burst of energy, in order to, you know, it's like when you start something, you know, you need that initial burst in order to move you forward. That's what the Ace of Wands is, that initial burst, that spark of energy, that new idea, that new passion, right? That's something that inspires you to move forward, to move towards something. And I feel like this was inspiring for you to move toward your Nine of Cups, back to yourself, finding yourself again. Finding yourself again. Because in this relationship, you were lost. You lost yourself. You cannot be in a relationship with these people and not lose yourself. You're going to lose yourself, because they can't have you, you know, as yourself in this connection. They have to have you completely and 100% focused on them. Anything else we need to know? I'm going to give the cards a little bit more shuffle. Anything else we need to know about the Eight of Pentacles, this work? We have the Six of Cups reversed. The Six of Cups reversed. Wait a minute. I think I got mixed. Did I say the Six of... Oh, no, I was right. The Six of Wands. I'm sorry. I was right. Oops. Sorry, guys. Six of Cups reversed. You're putting the past behind you. The Six of Cups is about the past. Putting the past behind you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's what you're working on. Healing. A new passion. Getting back to yourself and putting the past behind you. Absolutely. We have, what is this? The Five of Cups. Reversed. Healing, right? Coming out of a dark place. Learning your lessons. Learning, right? You're no longer in that place of feeling disappointed. In that place of feeling grief, okay? You are putting grief behind you. You're putting the past behind you. You're putting the grief of this connection, the disappointment, coming out of a dark place. This is beautiful. I love to hear it. I love it. I love it. Tell us about the 10. Oh, okay. Let's see what this is. The Six of Grains. You're learning about who to be generous with. This is what you've learned. Who to share your energy with and who not to share your energy with. Right? Discernment. Discerning about who you share yourself with. Who you give your energy to. Who you share your generous heart with. We have the Four of Candles. And now, the Four of Candles is about stability. Now you have stability and your foundation is stronger. It's a reason to celebrate because you've learned. Look, on top of the world, ending cycles is the Six of Grains. You learning you ending this cycle, you're coming out of this dark place, right? You're no longer grieving this connection. You put the past behind you. Put it behind you. You're ending cycles and you've learned your lessons. You've learned who to give your generosity to and who not to. You have learned discernment, right? You've learned who to celebrate with, who to allow in, with the Four of Candles. The Four of Wands is about coming together for celebration, right? It's about a foundation, right? It's about getting back to the foundation. You've learned how to keep your foundation strong. You've learned that you keep your foundation strong and intact by not giving your energy to everyone, by having, being very discerning about who you share yourself with. Very, very discerning about that. Not allowing just anybody to come celebrate at your party, right? Come into your foundation, right? Okay. And what's the legacy? What's the Ten of Pentacles? We have the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups. Ace of Chalices, right? This is a 1. Okay. This is about for me, the Ace of Cups is about, sometimes it's about an apology, right? It could be about an apology. Somebody coming in to apologize. But in this case, I feel like this is you forgiving yourself, right? This is about you coming to your higher self, maybe your inner child, and saying, I forgive you. You know, I forgive myself for allowing myself to be misled, right? And now you're in divine connection with yourself, the Ace of Cups. Your cup is overflowing because you've learned how to give love to yourself. It's about self-love. You've learned how to give the love of the divine to yourself. Receive divine love for yourself. Yep. We have the Five of Swords. Someone who wants to win at all costs. Win at all costs. I'm looking at this card and I'm thinking about the win at all costs, right? Let me just say this. Sometimes when we're in a relationship, we're in these relationships, right? When we know we're in a toxic relationship with someone, first of all, you're with someone who wants to win at all costs, right? And that is a tragic, tragic downfall. But also when you stay in these, a lot of times, you know, we stay in these relationships because we want to win. We want to win at this relationship, right? And we think that no matter the cost, that we can win. But in the end, nobody wins. You don't win, right? And the other person doesn't win either because they don't learn their lessons. When we allow people to treat us a certain type of way, when you allow someone to mistreat you, when you allow someone to step over your boundaries, right? To win at the cost of your happiness, in spite of a better knowing, right? You're allowing this person to prosper in a place they shouldn't be prospering. This is the lesson. This is a part of the lesson, right? Staying with people who want to win at all costs. That's a part of the lesson, right? And of course, you don't want that to be your legacy. Yep. The Two of Chalices. It's a bond. It's a connection, right? Staying connected to someone who wants to win at all costs. That's a no. Right? Even though you may have emotional connections with that person, what we have to learn how to do is to move towards our North Star, to follow our own path, right? Because we each have a path. We each have a path, and whenever we fall into these type of connections, it's a detour from your path. This is when you're off your path, right? But the goal is to be on your path no matter what. And here you are on your path. Even when you have emotional connections and you have a bond with someone, if that person is taking you off of your path, you have to let them go. Look, the Two of Cups connection, a bond, right? With someone from your past who kept you in a very dark energy that you had to put down, right? You had to put them down in spite of this connection. You had to put that behind you in spite of this connection. And a lot of times when we move away from this connection, we still feel love for this person. You still carry this person in you, because usually this is the person that teaches us the biggest lesson. You know what I mean? And you still have love. Okay. Conclusion. Four of Cups. All right. Somebody's left feeling. So you're moving on your path, going toward your North Star, which is your destiny. And someone, this person that you were in a connection with, is feeling disappointed. Is feeling, look at this. This is what the narcissist is left with. Himself, his spilled cups, and all the cups that he spilled because of the harm that he has done. Alone, defensive, nothing growing, everything's dead, emotionally barren, angry. Ooh, angry. Angry. That's his legacy. This is that's his legacy. We have the Hanged Man. You surrendered and got a new perspective. You surrendered and you see clearly because you surrendered. The Four of Wands, the Ace of Cups, you surrendered to this, to your foundation, to this strong, to keeping building and having a strong foundation and practicing self-love. And that's what gave you a new perspective. And this person has to see you with this strong foundation and celebrating life. And he is angry about it. Anything else? What's the final word for the collective? The Seven of Grains. The Seven of Grains. Growth. You're planting new seeds. And you're growing. Yes. 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 You're focused on growth. Good for you. And on the bottom of the deck, we have the Eight of Cups. This is ascension. You have ascended to a new level of emotional fulfillment. You have left what does not serve you behind. And when you walked away, you ascended. When you walked away, you ascended. You moved toward your higher calling. And that is your reading. And that is a beautiful, beautiful message. Okay? A beautiful, beautiful message. And to answer the question, you are not dealing with someone who was just selfish, right? You were dealing with someone who was truly narcissistic. Selfish people are selfish in instances, right? We all can be selfish sometimes, right? But it's not a personality trait. It's not ingrained in the fiber of who you are when you're just being selfish. Okay, so you're selfish sometimes. Someone who is narcissistic is not just selfish sometimes. And it's not just about being selfish, because anybody can, the thing about narcissistic people who operate in this shadow energy like this, it's not even just about being very selfish. It's about being manipulative. And these people can also be very giving, right? They can be very generous, actually, sometimes, right? Because it's either they're the victim or they're the hero. And when they're being the hero, they are quite the hero, right? And that's what confuses people. That's what keeps, you know what I mean? That's what makes it almost impossible to believe that this person could be the same energy, that someone who can be so loving and so giving can turn around and be a tyrant, right? It just doesn't make sense. And that's what keeps you stuck. That's the confusion. And that's where you get lost. But this is a very strategic individual who understands how to play on people's emotions, to play on people's expectations, to play on people's good nature, right? They know how to do it, and they do it very well. And it's not by accident. It is on purpose. It is on purpose. Okay? They live for this stuff. It's hard to believe. It's a hard pill to swallow, I know. Because I've seen it so many times and I've dealt with so many of these people in my life before that it is hard to believe that people operate this way intentionally, but yeah, it is very intentional. So anyway, the goal is, when you're in a situation with one of these people, you're going to have to walk away. In order for you to ascend, you're going to have to release them and walk away, right? And yeah, so I'm going to leave it right there. That is the reading. I hope it was helpful. I hope it was impactful. And I'd love to hear your story. If you related to this reading, I would love for you to share in the comments. And because this is important. This is so important to me. Somebody out there doesn't. We have so much information out about this now, but when I was going through it, I had no idea. And I know that there are still people out there who need support. It really helped me to hear other people's stories, because it affirmed for me that I was not crazy and that I was not the only one who was going through such a thing. So if this resonates with you and you feel so inclined, please do share in the comments. Other than that, I wish you all a blessed day. And again, I thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you in the next reading. Take care and have a blessed one.